All right, today we're going to go over week number 9 on the spiraling worksheets. So number 1 says, is the following a function? And remember, all we have to do is look at our x values. And if any of my x values are repeating, then the answer is no. And so you can see definitely I'm not repeating any values over here. So my answer for this one is going to be yes. The next one says, write a linear equation for the following. They've given us 2 sets of coordinates. So what I am going to do is I'm going to go to the calculator and put that in a data table and let my calculator do the work for me, okay? All right, so we're going to go to menu, and I want to do a list or a spreadsheet, so that's number 4. And then in A, we'll put X, and in the B column, we'll put Y. And then under the X column, I'm going to put a -4 and a +2. And then under the Y column, I will put the -10 and another +2. And once I have my cursor right here, then I'm going to go to menu, and then menu, and then 4 and 1 for stat calculations, and then number 3 for the linear regression. This one right here that has the mx plus b, okay? So number 3. And then in the X list, I put X, and in the Y list, I put Y, and then I can hit enter. And then there is my equation. Here's my slope, and then here's my y-intercept. So my equation is going to be y equals 2x minus 2. So this is the answer for number 2. All right, number 3 says to solve the system of equations. So remember, when we're solving a system, we're finding that point of intersection where the 2 lines would cross each other if we graphed it. But I'm not going to graph, but I am going to go to the calculator. Okay, so I'm just going to add another page. So I'm going to do Control-Doc to add a page. And we want to do a calculator. So number 1, add a calculator. And then on here, I'm going to do not the in solve, the numerical solve, but I'm going to do the len solve. So if I go to menu and then 3, and instead of number 1 for numerical solve, I want number 2 for solve systems of linear equations. So number 2. And then I check to make sure my variables are x and y, which they are, so I can just hit OK. And then I type in my first equation, which is 2x plus 5y equals 26. And then I arrow down and put my next equation, a -3x minus 4y equals a -25. And then I hit enter. And so my correct answer then, remember this is a coordinate, so we're going to write it as 3, 4 with parentheses, not the braces, guys, okay? It's with parentheses. Okay, so number 4 says find the x and the y intercepts. Remember my x-intercept is always x, 0. And my y-intercept then is always 0, y. So if I replace my y with 0, I would have -2x plus 8 times 0 equals 40. And then this becomes a 0, so I'm really just left with 2x equals 40. And then divide by a -2, sorry I said 2x, but -2x. So 40 divided by -2 is a -20. So my x-intercept would be -20, 0. And then if I do it again, but this time replace my x with 0 so that I can find my y-intercept. So I'll have -2 times 0 plus 8y equals 40. -2 times 0 is 0, so I'm really just left with 8y equals 40. Divide by 8 on both sides. So 40 divided by 8 is 5. So my answer would be 0, 5 for my y-intercept. So this would be the x-intercept. And this would be my y-intercept. Okay, number 5 is asking me to write an equation in slope-intercept form for the following. So remember, slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b. They've given me the slope, but they did not give me my y-intercept. They gave me a point. So we are going to start out by putting it in point slope form. So that would be y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is my x1 and this is my y1, and then this is my m. So we can plug everything in. So I will have y minus, my y is a -2, so minus a negative really is +2. My m is going to be 3/4 times x minus my x value, which is a -8. So again, minus a negative becomes a positive. And then I just need to distribute my 3/4. So I will have y plus 2 equals 3/4x, and then 3/4 times 8 comes out to be 6. And then I will subtract 2 from both sides of my equal sign. And I have 3/4x, and then 6 minus 2 is a +4. So here's my answer for number 5. Okay, number 6 just says to simplify. So remember, if I'm multiplying and my bases are the same, I add my exponents. So if we have 5 plus a -7, that gives me x to the -2. I cannot leave a negative exponent in my answer, so I have to write the reciprocal. So it'll be 1/x to the 2nd power. So let's try the next one. I need to distribute the -2 here. So remember, I have an exponent, and when I try to distribute, there's already an exponent there, so I have to multiply the 2 exponents. So I'm going to have x to the -16. Same thing down here, -2 times 4 is going to give me a -8. So x to the -16 over y to the -8. They both have negative exponents, so I'm writing the reciprocal of both, which means I'm just flipping it over. And there's my answer for number 7. Okay, number 8 says for the function f of x equals 5x minus 4, what is the dependent value for f of -2? So dependent value, remember that is the y. So we are looking for the y. That means this is my x value. So I'm just going to replace, I'll do it here. I'm going to replace my x with the -2. And I'll simplify. So 5 times -2 is -10. -10 minus 4 is going to be -14. So my answer for my dependent value on number 8 would be -14. So then let's look at number 9. It says for the function f of x equals -2x plus 7, what is the independent value? Well, independent is my x. So it says independent value for f of x equals 21. Remember, f of x is like my y. So it's telling me my y is equal to 21. So again, I'm just going to write that as my y. So I'm going to replace my y with the 21, and then I will solve for the variable x. Now, at this point, I could do it by hand, or I could put it into nsolve. Let's go ahead and try nsolve. Okay, so we can do menu 3 and then 1, and type my equation in. It was 21 equals -2x plus 7. And remember, we're solving for x, so I'll put comma x at the end and hit enter. So my x comes out to be -7. So we ended up with x equals a -7 for number 9. Okay, so number 10 says simplify the following. So all we are doing is multiplying. I am distributing the 8x cubed with everything inside this parentheses. So remember, I multiply my coefficients, but I'm going to add my exponents. So 8 times 5 will give me 40. X cubed times x to the 4th would be x to the 7th power, minus 8 times 7 will give me 56. X to the 3rd times x to the 2nd will give me x to the 5th. And I am done. Number 11 is asking us to factor. So I can see that I have a GCF of 5 that I can factor out of both of these two terms. And then I have x to the 5th and x to the 4th. X to the 4th is the smallest exponent, so I can factor that out. And now we're going to create the multiplication problem. So 5 times what is going to give me 10? Well, 5 times 2. And then I need x to the 5th, and I only have x to the 4th, so I'm missing an x. Plus 5 times what will give me 15? That will be 3. I need x to the 4th, but I already have x to the 4th, so I don't need another x. So I am done with number 11. All right, looking at number 12, I don't have a GCF, but I do have 4 terms where I can do grouping. So I'm going to group the first 2, and I'll group the second 2. And now GCF-wise out of here, I can factor out an x squared. So I need x cubed. I only have x squared, so I'm missing an x minus. I need a 2, and I don't have any coefficient here, so I'm going to have to put a 2. I need x squared, and I already have an x squared, so I'm not putting another x. GCF out of this one will be a positive 5. So I need a 5, but I already have it, so I don't need to put a coefficient. And then I need an x, and I don't have anything at all, so I'll put an x minus. Then 5 times what will give me that 10, and that's going to be 2. And notice that my parentheses are the same thing, right? So remember, whatever we factored out, the x squared and then this plus 5 will go into one set of parentheses, and then the x minus 2 will go in the other. And there's my answer for number 12. Okay, so let's look at number 13. It says, for what value of c does the quadratic equation negative 2x squared plus 12x minus c equals 0 have exactly one real solution? So remember, one real solution means it touches the x-axis just one time, and that would be the vertex, right? Okay, so I think the easiest thing to do is to replace my c with each one of these numbers and then just graph it on the calculator and see what we have. So this one is going to be a negative 2x squared plus 12x minus, because notice this says minus my c, and my c is 3, so I'm going to say minus 3 equals 0. Let's go ahead and fill all the other ones in. So I have a negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 18 equals 0. A negative 2x squared plus 12x minus a negative 18. So remember, minus a negative means it's going to be plus 18. And a negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 72. Equals 0. So there are the 4 equations. So I'm going to go over to the calculator and let's see what we can figure out, okay? All right, because I'm graphing, I'm going to add a new page, so Control Doc, and I want to add a graph. That's number 2. So the first equation was negative 2x squared plus 12x and then minus 3. Remember, we don't have to put the equals 0. It needs to be set equal to 0, but we don't have to put the equals 0. And then I hit enter. Well, you can see right here that it touches the x-axis more than one time, right? So that one, that was A, that's not it. So I'm going to keep it on the same graph. I'm going to add tab. So now I have another place to put my next equation. So negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 18. And let's hit, oh, excuse me, what's going on here? Sorry. Okay, how's that? Negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 18. Enter. Okay, so can we see right here that it has one real solution? So that was B, so it looks like B is going to be the correct answer. Okay, so we said B would be the correct answer, right? Okay, nice job.